Like I've been quite overwhelmed by the outpouring of engagement and involvement that the North Mount Pleasant community has had regarding Highway 41 and its expansion. Now, if you're just kind of tuning into this story and you're struggling like I did in the beginning to figure out, well, what the heck are they doing with Highway 41? Here's the plan. It's going to turn onto Highway 41 headed toward the Wando River, and it's going to be expanded under the current county plan, which was approved by Mount Pleasant uh, against the will of most everyone that showed up to oppose it. There's going to be 4 lanes, and somewhere just prior to the Phillips Community, which is a historic African-American community kind of in the center of Highway 41 between Highway 17 and the Wando River, just before that, they're going to branch off a 2-lane highway, much like Bessemer is now. I think it's Bessemer. And that will be Laurel Hill Parkway that will dump out somewhere on Park West Boulevard. So for Dunes West residents like myself, that might be okay, because we'll be able to take a quick turn, not have to sit in all the gridlock and bottlenecks, get on to Park West Boulevard, turn left. There we are at the gate of Dunes West. Might not be bad for Dunes West and Park West folks. I don't want to be selfish about that. I think it might work. But what is the concern then? Well, it bottlenecks down to 3 lanes. So now you can dump a tremendous amount more volume onto Highway 41. You're going to, in theory, have a bunch of that traffic veer off onto Laurel Hill Parkway. There's about, 6,000 homes in that section that'll serve. So 15 or so thousand residents, just rough guess. And then after you get past the Phillips community, we're going to expand it back out to 4 lanes. This is what government does. I think this is placating the people in the Phillips community because it's been labeled in the National Historic Register. It's an African-American community. A lot of that land was granted early days at the end of slavery and such as that. And I don't want to belittle that, but I think for the residents of the community, they're kind of having the wool pulled over their eyes, because this is what I call concept creep. At some point when we realize this doesn't work, well, we only need to add 1 more lane. So then we'll have to go back, disrupt everything, and do it. This is what government does. And it doesn't matter politically whether you're on the left or the right. We're all in the boat rowing in the same direction as citizens against this kind of behavior. So this is just a way to get it done, get something done, rubber stamp it, Charleston County, and move right on down the road and not have that battle tied up in court for years. And maybe that's prudent. I don't know. But then what happens at Highway 41 at the Wando River Bridge, which is a brand new bridge in just the last few years, and it's 2 lanes. The biggest part of this conversation, aside from the legitimate concerns I'm going to run through here that North Mount Pleasant homeowners are having, is that this does nothing to address what's happening in Berkeley County. We've got 40,000 people estimated to be moving in to the to the 29492 zip code. That's Daniel Island, Clements Ferry Road, Cainhoy, Wando, Hugie. Right, that's that area. There's multiple infill subdivisions. There's 15,000 homes planned at Point Hope, which is thousands and thousands of acres. It's every bit as big as Daniel Island, if not larger. And the estimate is 40,000 people, which really means 50. And apartments are springing up left and right. So where do you think those people are going to go to Target, Costco, Walmart, basic necessities outside of the MUSC that's out there, the Publix, and maybe a new grocery store that pops up out there? Well, they're going to go down 41. Because there's a Harris Teeter, a Lowe's, there's all the stuff on North Mount Pleasant near Park West. And so that traffic's going to have to navigate its way down Highway 41, bottlenecking still at the Phillips community because they can't go through Dunes West to get around. And the next available turn to the left is going to be Park West at Bessemer at the Citgo gas station. This is, folks, I agree with everybody that's been really jumping up and down about this. It's insane that this happened. And the reason it happens, and I'm speaking to my friends and neighbors in the North Mount Pleasant segment, this is not for or against anything. This is a fact. I have been following the political persuasions of this Tri-County area for 3 decades, doing it on radio, been on radio broadcasting in the media, on talk radio for years. And what has always stricken me as odd, and I think the chickens have now come home to roost for North Mount Pleasant residents, is that the turnout on elections for North Mount Pleasant residents is very low. It's a more transient community, although there's now becoming an establishment of people that live there 20 and 30 years. But it's the community has been more of the busy people of Charleston. They driving to work at Boeing. They're going out Clements Ferry Road to get to work. They're living in a destination bedroom community, but they're not from that area. Most people that live in North Mount Pleasant aren't arguably from there. They moved there, and that's because it's a newer segment of town. So they don't vote as often. So what ends up happening is whoever's South Mount Pleasant, no, I've got lots of friends in South Mount Pleasant. I'm not trying to pit the two against each other here, but whoever in South Mount Pleasant wants is who they get. And the dynamics of the two markets are both wonderful but different. And so what's now happening is people are waking up going, well, wait a minute, we've elected a mayor and historically a council, although there are a few people, Iacofano, Kathy Landing, I can't remember the rest of them, that are speaking sensible on this. So I don't want to say that everybody's wrong, because there's some that are asking the right questions. But this train left the station a long time ago on Highway 41, and I'm not discouraging anyone from holding these people at Charleston County accountable. It's really more of Charleston County's fault than it is Mount Pleasant. Mount Pleasant's failure at the mayoral level is lack of leadership. At the council level is collective lack of leadership. They should have been stronger and more forceful with Charleston County to force a better plan, to engage the citizens sooner. And to their credit, they probably tried some and didn't get much of the turnout because it was so far down the road. But now that it's imminent, the Highway 41 plan of 4 lanes and then Laurel Hill Parkway through the swamp, we'll get to that in a second for flooding reasons, and then 3 lanes at Phillips Community, back to 4 lanes, and then down to 2 on the Wando River Bridge. Will it be better? Well, after 4 years of hell driving up and down through a construction zone, probably. But by that point, it'll be too little too late, because by estimation, in the next 4 years on Clements Ferry Road, barring a huge housing crash like we saw in '08, which I don't see that coming, we're going to have another 5,000 homes developed out there by then. 3,000 to 5,000 homes, I think, at minimum. Units, apartments, homes, probably going to be more like 5,000 to 10,000 over the next 4 or 5 years delivered out there. That traffic might actually negate much of the gains of this very, very ludicrous plan. Now, there's the other factor that people are worried about, and I think it's legitimate. We've seen this in Nexton and Cane Bay and Somerville at a pretty profound level. One would argue that's higher ground than down here in the swamp of Charleston County. So what you've seen in Nexton and Cane Bay is you've seen the 10-year retention rates on those ponds, which is what the developers have met the code. They've not done anything illegal. I would just argue they're not very good corporate citizens. They're in for every little penny they can squeeze out of our area with no concern for the downstream, no pun intended, ramifications. So the water is flowing over the Ashley River Basin, and it's flooding communities in areas where you're seeing water rise due to heavy rain events. There's not like a sprinkle and it happens. But when the rain gets to be too much, there's flooding in areas now in parts of Somerville near the Ashley River Basin where that water runoff is happening from Cane Bay and Nexton. I've been told this. I've seen the engineering reports. I've been told they exist. And it's causing flooding that didn't exist for much or any of the last 40 years. So one would then ask, well, what happens at Point Hope? So what happens when thousands and thousands and thousands of acres of rain falls in Point Hope, which is it's a great development. I'm not beating them up. I'm just saying we've seen this time and time again, the Pulte Homes and the Centexes and the Lennars and all of these wonderful corporate citizens not come in and build all of these properties and mow down all of the trees, which soak up the water and displace the water, and they put in their retention ponds and they fill up and they're always full. And the rain comes. Well, what happens to the excess water? It flows out into the creeks and marshes. And what we end up with is a marsh that looks more like a river than it did 10, 20, 30 years ago. And then you cut through the large concrete areas of an expanded road, Laurel Hill Parkway, through a marshy area of 40, 50 acres of present county parkland, and you displace all of that water, and it causes water to rise more where the existing homes are, including in the Phillips community. So am I saying don't build Highway 41? I'm saying the opposite. I say build it more smartly. In an effort to save money and to appease people and to get it done and ram it through, no matter what we, the citizens, think, they're going to create more problems than the ones they're solving, or at least create as many new ones, leaving us with a roadway project that may improve conditions for the portion of the decade they're completed, but likely serve no real long-term benefit. But what can you do about it? We can sit and complain. We can talk about what the mayor couldn't have done. We can talk about the positions of county council members. Well, the best thing you can do is vote and look at the record of the people you're voting for or against and show up. And I plan to do that. And the same goes for Charleston County, where the real culprits exist, because they basically have threatened and bullied the council, the mayor, and all of us, and saying, if you change it now, we're going to take the money and spend it elsewhere, which arguably they have the right to do. But that's disgusting. It's disgusting that we allow that to happen. So can we stop it, folks? I don't think so. I don't want to discourage anyone. I say keep having your meetings. Keep your friends. There's a Friends of Faison out there, Faison Road by Costco, and they're saying, wait a minute, we don't need any more warehouses and trucks coming in. And I agree with you. I agree we don't need all of these things out there. I agree we need to be smarter about what we're building. This is a residential community, and we don't need to turn it into a sea of industrial buildings and large, big box, heavy complexes and apartments. And a lot of that is what's creating this traffic problem that we're now trying to mitigate. So this issue is not just 41, not just failed planning by the county and failed leadership by the city and its members. It's also the fact that we've now got to stand up and start directing our investment and our allowances at homeowners trying to build their own house and letting them do it more easily and making it far, far more difficult for big, bad businesses and bad corporate citizens to abuse and take control of North Mount Pleasant. I'm Bryan Crabtree with Indigo Oak Christie's International Real Estate. Thanks for watching.